Okay guys, we are back for our styling bit, but before we get into building up the CSS files, let's go ahead and slice up some images from the PSD. Now let me just show the sign-in form. So the first image that we need is the icon for sign-in right here. So let's grab that. Same old method, duplicate it into a new document, trim the image, and then save the resulting image as a PNG. And I'm gonna call this sign-in icon.png. I'm gonna do the same for the sign up icon. What else? We need this little arrow right here. Yep, this is the one. Let's call it active tab arrow. What else? We need the icon from the buttons, and don't worry if it's not looking like much in the render here. Once you put it against a dark background, it will show up. So we'll call that button icon. Okay, that was the sign in form. Let's have a look at the sign up form. And the only thing that we need are the buttons, but after I looked through my icon archive, I found some icons that I'm gonna be using. So I'm just gonna grab this one, result set next PNG. It's a cool icon set. It's called Silk, and I'll provide a link for it under the tutorial. So grab this and paste it here. Let's call it list bullet. Okay, that's the PSD slicing is complete. So let's go back to Coda, and as you can see, I've created a CSS file with within the CSS folder. I've added this heading to help me identify the file, and also the contents of reset CSS. Now I'll be including the reset styles in the main style sheet to save a bit on the HTTP requests. And also I've added a link, a rel style sheet, so I basically linked our master CSS file. Okay. So let's have a look in Firefox, and there it is, our form. So let's begin styling it. I'm gonna start with some general styles. Say body. We're gonna set a font family of sans serif. And sans serif, if you put this as a value for font family, it will default to Helvetica and Arial. So it's exactly what we need. Font size 12 pixel. Line height should be in here about 14 pixels. So 1.4 ems. Also the color of the text, the general color, should be this. Okay, looking good. Next, we have a div with an ID of container, and then we're gonna style the tabs. Oops, sorry. So container, and we're gonna say, first of all, a padding of 1 pixel, and I'm doing that for the gap that we have right here. And then let's set the border. Border 1 pixel solid, and of course it's going to be around corners. It's going to have round corners. So let's grab the color, and we're going to say Moz or WebKit round. Hold on, I forgot the sun. Not round. Border radius 5 pixels. I was gonna say WebKit round corners. Oh God. Moz border radius 5 pixels, and finally border radius 5 pixels. Let's have a look. Okay. Also a width. Our form is 850. And also let's set the margins to 0 and auto to center it on the page, just like this. Now I'm gonna add a temporary value on the padding for the body of 50 pixels, top and bottom. And this is temporary, just to push the elements a bit down so we can see what we're doing. Temporary value. There we go. Okay, next up are the tabs. So let's say tabs, UL tabs. I'm going to have a background color that is the same as our text color. Okay. Tabs list item. Now each list item will be floated to the left, and we'll do that in the beginning, even though this one is on the right, but I'll show you what I mean. Now float left, we need the padding of about 25 pixels, and next we're gonna do tabs list item span. Span is 12 pixels with this color, 12 pixels, and then the H2 color is white, and the font size is 16, I think. Let's see, H2 18, sorry, 18 pixels. Okay, let's have a quick look. And our dark background is gone because we have 2 floated elements, but we don't clear the float anywhere. So let's do that quickly by setting the overflow hidden to the parent element. Okay, looking good. Next, on the H2, I'm gonna use text transform uppercase to make all letters uppercase. And now I think it's time to add the icons that we previously cut. So let's go ahead and do that. But first, let me show you a quick modification that I did to the code. Because we're going to be using gradient backgrounds for this, for the sign up button, I also wanted to use the icon as a background, just so I wouldn't have to write additional markup for it. But the problem is, in CSS3 you can have multiple backgrounds, so we could use the image plus the gradient, but in older browsers the image will just not show, and that's not actually what we want. So a quick solution that I came up with was to add another div inside the list item, give it the appropriate ID, and that way we can target the div and have the icon as a background for the div and the gradient as a background for the list item. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to say UL tabs list item with a div with an ID of sign in tab, and we're going to say background URL, oops, sorry, URL img sign in icon, not png, and this should be left and center, no repeat. Alright, do the same for the sign up tab. Let's have a look. Okay, now we need to push the text to the right. So to do that, let's tamper with the paddings here a bit. So 25, 25, 25, and the left padding should be about 75 pixels. So the list item, no, that is not correct, because it will push the div to the right. Okay, so instead I'm just gonna do margin left 50 pixels on the actual elements, so that way we're just pushing the span and the heading to the right. Now notice how the icons are a bit cut to the top and bottom, and that's because the background, the div, isn't stretched to its maximum height. So if we take a look, sign in icon, its height is 36 pixels. So let's go here and set the height to 36 pixels. And there we go. Now they're all showing properly. Okay, looking good so far. Now let's style the sign up tab, and for that, if you noticed, I created an ID for the list item, which is called inactive tab. So let's start with that. So tabs, list item, inactive tab. First of all, this is going to the right here. As you can see in the Photoshop document, it's to the right. So let's start by saying float right. Good. Next, it's going to be a link. So obviously we need to make it look like a link. Cursor pointer. Okay, good. And now we have to start with the gradient background, and for that, let's say background and grab this color, for instance, and set it as a fallback color. So for browsers that don't support gradient backgrounds, we're just giving them an alternative. So let's say fallback. Now, background, Moz, linear gradient. This is the syntax. So we start from the left and we go from a color to a color. Now let's go ahead and grab those colors. First one is this dark bit right here. Second one is the lightest. Let's have a look. Okay. Now the problem here, as you can see in the Photoshop document, this dark part only stretches for about, I don't know, this much, because it's kind of a shading effect. So we can actually modify the gradient by using a color stop. So I'm just gonna say 15% here and watch what happens. Now the color, the first one, the darker one, stops at about 15%, and the other one, the lighter one, starts at 15%. So this is the syntax if you want to use a color stop. Alright, and let's do the same for the WebKit browsers. So we're going to say WebKit gradient, and the syntax here is a bit different, but it's not that hard to remember. We're going to say linear. We start from 0, 0, which is top left, and then we're going to say 100% and 0, which is the bottom right corner. So we're basically saying left to right. From, we have a color, and we can say to the other color, but instead we're going to say color stop 15% and the color. And let's go ahead and copy these, and there we go. That's the syntax for WebKit gradient. Let's go ahead and test that into Chrome, and there you go. Look at that. Now we need to add some styles for the hover. So we're gonna do inactive tab hover. Now all we need to change here are the background, are the colors, sorry. So let's go back to Photoshop, open this, and I'm just gonna do a very messy job here and just create an adjustment layer and just do this to about 20. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is grab the new colors. So we'll set this, hold on. So the dark color goes here and here, and the light color will go here, here, and here as a fallback. Okay. There you go. I'm not sure if I got the exact colors correct, but you know, you get the point. You can tamper with the colors any way you want. So you can probably just get better colors by decreasing the opacity, by decreasing the brightness, sorry, to about 10. So for so if you do 10, the colors are much closer. So So let's just do this real quick. Okay, that's a bit better. Okay, so with the tab out of the way, we got to move on to the actual form. But before we do that, we're actually not done with the tabs. My apologies. We forgot about the border, or I forgot about a border. So let's go ahead and add that one. Border left, 1 pixel solid. Okay. Let's check it out. And let's also check out the hover in Chrome, looking good. And we gotta add this active tab indicator, as I called it. So to do that, very easily, go back here and we're gonna say span with a class of tab indicator, or talk bubble, or whatever you want to call it. And I'm just gonna say this and end the span. Okay, and we're gonna do the same here. Now to style it, we're gonna say tabs. Now we only want to show it on the active tab, so let's also give this tab an ID of active tab. So it's going to be ul tabs list item with an ID of active tab, span with a class of tab indicator. Okay, and that's going to be positioned absolute. The background is going to be set to active tab arrow PNG. It's going to be center center, no repeat. We must give it a width and a height, 14 and 7. So width 14 pixels, height 7 pixels, and we do that to show the entire tab, to show the entire image, because, well, we don't have any content inside that particular span. So we have the width, we have the height, and now we need to position it. But first, why don't we have a look at it and see where it is now. Now it's somewhere around here. We don't actually see it. Let's do top about, I don't know, 100 pixels. And there it is right here. Now this is a bit awkward because it should have been placed right below these elements. I'm not sure why it's above them. So it seems it's coming from up top, from here. So let's see, position absolute, but we forgot to add the position relative to its parent element. So its parent element is the list item. Okay. Position relative. check it out. "50 pixels." What if we set so top 50 pixels? Something is seriously wrong here. So let's see, span with class of tab indicator, and it's inside list item. Position is relative. Maybe he doesn't like if we set the position relative to all the list items. Let's see, UL tabs, list item, active tab. No, it's the exact same thing that's going on, but it should work. That's the problem. Top 50 pixels with height position absolute. The background is set to center, center, no repeat. Let's set the margin to 0 because I think it inherits some of the margin from the span up here. So margin 0. Okay, so it had a margin top, margin left, sorry. But still, this should work, and it also caused this div to get larger in height, and it shouldn't have done that. So let's take a look in Firebug to see what's wrong here. So we have the tabs, good, active tab, inactive tab. Of course it did that, because we have a tab indicator class inside the inactive tab as well, and we haven't styled that. So let's see, tabs, inactive tab, span with a class of tab indicator, and we're gonna set that to none, display none. Okay, and that solves the additional height issue. So for those who didn't quite understand what I did there, we have the indicator, the arrow. I'm just going to call it the arrow. So we have the arrow in both divs, but we only want to show it in the active tab. That's what it's for. So we set the position to absolute, and it floats correctly in this tab, but it didn't float correctly in the other tab, so it was causing the height to be pushed a bit. So just by targeting the tab indicator inside the inactive tab, we set its display to none, and it seems to work just fine right now. So let's modify this a bit. Top needs to be a bit bigger, so from 50 pixels let's go to 100, and this should push it right down, and it does push it right down, I think. Let's open up Firebug again. Well, there it is. It's actually pushing it down correctly, but we just cannot see it. And I think that's because, yep, that's because we set the overflow to hidden on the tabs element right here. So whatever is pushed down is not showing. So instead, we can do this the classic way, which is to add a div here with the property of clear both. But I recently found a quicker method to do that by using a pseudo class, and I'm just going to show it to you real quick. So let's call it clearFix, and we're going to use the pseudo class of after, and we're going to say visibility hidden, display will be set to block, content set to none. Now the property that we're interested in, clear both, and also height is going to be set to 0. So what I've done here, basically you add this class to any element that you want to clear the float. So it's a kind of a self-clearing the floats. So for instance, if we go back to tabs and add a class of clearFix, it should clear the floats. So let's see if that works. So we removed the overflow hidden from the tabs, and let's change this to 100 pixels. Yep, there we go. Now our element is showing, and let me just position this correctly. I think it was around 80 pixels of top, more 85, I think 85, 87, no 86, yeah, 86 for top, and left should be about 15. No. I think 33 or 34 I think should be just perfect for alignment. Almost 35. Okay, so 35 will do the trick. Now let me just go back to this fix right here. I'm not sure if you guys, if all of you understood it. So by adding a class of clearFix to the tabs, we're basically appending another element, visibility hidden, display block, that has a property of clear both and a height of 0, so it won't mess up our layout. And that's all done by using the pseudo class of after. Now most of it won't work in IE6 or IE7, so there are a couple of hacks for those. So we're gonna say HTML clear fix, zoom. Don't ask me why it does this, don't ask me how it works, because I just do not know. It's a hack. I'm not a really big fan of hacks, but browsers such as zoom, such as IE6 and IE7 just make us use these nasty stuff. So okay, that's done with the clear fix. We have the hacks in place just in case we use IE6 or 7. So let's have a quick look on our page here. We have the active tab showing, we have the inactive one behaving as a link. Let's also show it in Chrome. Okay, looks good. And now it's time to move on and begin styling the sign-in form and the sign-up form.